Hello and welcome to Spardha Lines, your one-stop destination for civil services preparation, UPSC, KPSC and other state level exams. Let us try and understand some of the important articles that have been in news for 12th of August 2023. Let's get started and look into the first article. The first article says India needs a new economic policy. The author in this particular case brings about changes that needs to be introduced in the Indian economic system. The author feels for the past few years, what we are not able to do is increase the GDP numbers. In order to give a boost to the GDP number, what we have to bring is a massive economic structures replacement. So the author goes on to say, if we are able to bring these changes, maybe we can go ahead and have massive reformation in the economic system. What does the author say? Let's look into the context. He goes on to say the National Statistical Office has released 2022-23 GDP fourth quarter growth figures. Measured against fourth quarter figures of the previous year, the data gives a gloomier picture, says this article. Looking into the data, according to NSO data, in the first COVID-19 pandemic quarter of 2020-21, April 1 to June 30, GDP growth rate was minus 23.8% when compared to the GDP of the same period in 2019 and 20. So this significantly points out that what we are witnessing right now is not a spike in the GDP numbers. So the author in this particular case is asking for a change in the economic structure. What are the changes that the author is trying to inculcate? What does he want the government to do? The author goes on to say that we have to bring a change when it comes to the structure of the economy. What is the structure of the economy? For example, we have number of economic changes that needs to be brought into the picture. For example, by structuring a clear implementation of what economic objectives will be and the priorities that should be assigned to the various objectives. What should we do? When it comes to the economic structure, we need to have an objective. Objective of what? That we need to have a plan for the next few years, that in so years we will be able to meet this particular objective. One is with respect to the agriculture sector, second is with respect to the manufacturing sector, third is with respect to the service sector. For every sector, what we need to have is a proper planning. We have to bring a change in the plan structure as well, and we have to have an end goal. So for the agricultural sector, in the next 6 months we will be planning to achieve so and so scheme and program. For the economic sector, that is for the manufacturing sector, we will be coming up with couple of schemes and programs and ultimately implementing it, and at the same time the same has to be assigned to the service sector as well. So have a clear cut plan so that we are able to meet these targets. So structuring basically means we need to have a concordant plan, and this particular plan will have to be built as per the years as well as the plan. The author also goes on to say we have to introspect. What is the introspection here? Let's say for example there is a plan which is working out. This has to be progressively implemented, and at the same time if changes be needed, those changes will also have to be brought about as well. And at the same time, if there is a particular program which is not doing that good, that will also have to be deleted. So structuring basically means that we have to bring a massive transformation with respect to the economic objectives is the need of the hour. Resources by the government should be mobilized through the indirect taxes and also by liberal printing of currency notes, which is circulated by paying wages to the employment generated in extensive public work. The annual interest paid on the fixed term savings in the bank accounts should be 6%, or to increase purchasing power of the middle classes. Interest rate on loans to small and medium industries should be more than 6% of the loans to increase production of these sectors and thus employment. What do we understand by this? Let's say for example, the major reason as to how the economy runs is by the purchasing power parity. What is the purchasing power parity? How are we able to grow a particular country by purchases? For example, there is a product. The product is in the market. So there is enormous amount of supply in the market. So there is a company, it's releasing its products. But what if people are not able to buy this particular product? So what they also require is the purchasing power. Let me give you one example. 1929, what we had was a greater depression that happened in the United States of America. What you also realize is during this period there was a particular model called as the Ford model. What used to happen? There was massive supply of these Ford cars that was in the United States of America's market, but were people able to take these products? No. So the author is trying to say that when it comes to the market, demand is required, supply is also required. As of now, there is excessive supply in the market, but how are we going to promote the demand? Demand is from us, demand is from an individual, demand is from a family, demand is from the society. So if there is excessive supply, there also has to be demand as well. How are we going to push in this particular demand? For that, what we require is more money at the hands of the people. So if they have the money, they would also have the power to purchase that particular product. So how am I going to promote it? That is because the author goes on to say that when it comes to the saving banks account, what we have to give is 9% interest rate. So when we have this that is provided to the people, they will have money at their hands. So there is supply in the market, there will also be demand in the market, and ultimately the economic churns will keep running, says the author. The author next suggests that this market system is not a free for all or an ad hoc measure. It has a structure with rules for the transactions. What does the author want to say? The author in this particular case brings in an idea of more economic market reforms. What is this market reforms? There are two types of model. One is where the market functions on its own. There is not much restrictions that are imposed by the government. Then you also have something called as a socialism principle, which is like a closed economy where there is a lot of licensing that needs to be taken into picture. There is a lot of permitrage that is coming into the picture. The government regulates most of the sectors and the market will not be able to function efficiently. So the author goes on to say that despite China being a socialist state back in 1970s, they were able to realize the importance of the market. They wanted to bring in socialistic capitalism, state-run capitalism, which means to say their model might be socialistic in nature, but their economic machineries were in terms of capitalism. China realized it. So the author goes on to say, during the tenure of Deng Xiaoping as the Supremo, it allowed the social economic system to die and an economic market-based system came in as a result. So only in those areas where minimal requirement of the government presence is required, the government should be able to regulate. In rest of the areas, the market would be able to act independently. So the author correlates China in 1970 was a socialistic economy, but they realized that fruits of economy, the massive transformation can only be brought about when it comes to the market regularization and the capitalism. So basically what it had was a state-run capitalism. So the author is promoting state-run capitalism. The author next promotes deregulations should also not mean that we reject government intervention for safety nets, affirmative action, market failure and creating a level field. He goes on to say democratic institutions have to be empowered to guard against public disorder arising from rapid deregulation as it happened in Russia post 1991. Russia experienced in fact chaos and misery. What does this mean? This means when it is market run economy that we currently have, there also has to be deregulations as well. The government should also withdraw as well, and at the same time there is a necessity of regulation. Deregulation does not mean that the government is completely taken out of the system. Everything is given to the free will of the market. In those areas where safety nets are required, affirmative action is required to prevent market failure, what the government has to do, it has to bring in certain reforms where reforms are required in order to ensure that market failure does not happen. That also has to be taken into the picture by the government. So deregulations is important, but at the same time taking measures to regulate the market failure is also the need of the hour, says the author. The trade-off between the public sector and deregulation and the sale of loss-making units, increasing employment through affirmative action and easy access to social security, safety nets are essential to create a stake for the poor in the system. So when I say affirmative action, what do we understand by this picture of affirmative action? Affirmative action is basically the government is trying to bring in certain reservation modules as well. So there has been an historical wrongdoing. To undo this wrong, the government brings in what is called as affirmative action. So this affirmative action in India is in the form of reservation. The government will also have to provide social security schemes and program, provide the insurance scheme, provide the basic wages, provide them the insurance, health insurance, so on and so forth. If this is provided by the government to the people, they will not slip into the areas of poverty. There have been number of people who do not have health insurance schemes. They have lost all their family assets because they had to save their near and dear ones. Once a person is stuck with one of the health issues, there are ample examples where people have lost their entire property. So how am I going to uplift the people? How am I going to make sure that people don't sell their property? The government will have to provide safety net and social security schemes and programs like the PF, health insurance, so on and so forth. If these are the objectives that are taken into the picture, what we will replace is a new economic structure, says the author. So the author goes on to say that what we are witnessing right now is not good GDP numbers. That is what he says, Hindu rate of growth, which means to say that we have very minimal growth rate that is happening in the economy. So if we have to replace this, we have to ensure that economic objectives are realized and we have to add or delete the programs accordingly. It is this with respect to this article. Now let's look into the next article. This article here is speaking about online gaming. So we have the government of India, that is the Ministry of Finance, which has introduced 28% GST on the online gaming. So the first important question that we have to understand is, what is this online gaming? When we speak about online gaming, what happens? You have your mobile phones, you also have your laptops as well, you also have your tabs, so on and so forth. So if a game is conducted on an online platform through any of these tools, that is what is called as online gaming. So the tool is the internet, you would have the tools, that is the mobile phones, the laptops, the tabs, so on and so forth. And if you're playing this game on an online platform, that is called as online gaming, making use of the internet. The author also, in this particular case, the online gaming also means that we are making use of the real money. It is not just playing for fun, but it also means I am investing in the online platform. So I am paying a certain amount of money, and only after I pay a certain amount of money, let's say I pay 100 rupees or 500 rupees or 1000 rupees to play on this online gaming platform. After that, if I win, I would also receive a certain money as well. If I lose, I may also lose the money as well. When it comes to the online gaming market, what is the online gaming market's presence in India? The revenue of Indian mobile gaming industry is expected to exceed 1.5 billion in 2022 and it is estimated to reach 5 billion in 2025. The industry in the country grew at a CAGR of 38% between 2017 and 2020 as opposed to 8% in China, 10% in United States of America. It is expected to grow at 15% to reach 153 billion in revenue by 2024. India's percentage of new paying users in gaming has been fastest growing in the world. According to a report by EY and FICCI, transaction-based games revenue grew 26% in India, with the number of paying gamers increased by 17% from 80 million in 2020 to 95 million in 2021. With these numbers, what we see is a market for the online gaming industry in India, and which is why the government has put 28% GST on the online gaming. So this article goes on to say that there have been number of concerns voiced by this online gaming industry, and at the same time what we also have to understand is what is the way forward. How is this GST calculated in the present situation? When it comes to the GST calculation, a 28% will be imposed on this particular module. So if a person is making about 100 rupees, 28% will have to be paid. So this also means there are only few sectors where we are paying a huge sum of money when it comes to this particular sector. Let's say for example, entertainment is one such industry where they are paying about 28%. Then there are other sectors as well which are paying similarly 28%, which is why people are not happy with it. Why are they not happy with it? That is because this happens to be a booming industry. When it is a booming industry, we have to ensure that a certain platform is provided so that more opportunities are provided to make sure that this is ultimately taken off. As of now, when you consider United States of America or China, the number of people who are contributing to it is comparatively less. But when it comes to India, it is far too much. We just looked at the numbers. So this basically means it also provides technological tools, it also provides employment opportunities to the game developers, and at the same time it puts in a lot of revenue. There is revenue that is coming in, there is revenue that is going out as well. So this ultimately leads to a conclusion that if 28% taxes are imposed, people would not want to enter this particular area, and ultimately this particular sector could see a fall as well. So what are the issues here? One, the 28% tax that we currently have, this has to be reduced, is one of the concerns that needs to be taken into picture. Added to it, when you look at what is happening in couple of countries world over, in the United States of America, a flat tax is deducted on earnings from esports and online gaming, but the exact rate depends on which state you are in. In the UK, a variable tax slab is applied starting at 15% for the first 3.5 million earned or GGR and going up to 50% for amounts over 17.8 million earned, while winnings on gambling are tax-free in the country. Tax rates for esports are set at 40 to 45%. So in India, if a person is going to win that particular game, he will be taxed at 30%. This will be the tax deductible at the source. So what is this 30%? Let's say for example, you happen to win 1 lakh, or let's say for example, you happen to win 1 crore. Will you be getting this entire 1 crore? No, you would only be getting 70 lakhs. This 30% will be deducted by that particular online gaming platform, and ultimately only 70% would be given to you. This is what is called as TDS, and when it comes to the gaming, 30% will be going to the government as tax. So we already have the tax. If you're further imposing with further taxes, there will not be much people who will be playing this particular game. The situation in the EU is slightly more complicated, but the tax rate revenue is set at 15 to 20%, while taxation on winning is anywhere between 15 to 50% depending on the amount and the member state. These are some of the important facts with respect to the other country. Now, as we speak about the gaming, there are two types of gaming that you have to look at. One is the game of skill. The other is the game of chance. What is this game of skill? Game of skill happens to be that particular game where you have to apply your mind. Let's say for example, you have Rummy. It is not just a game that you win by chance or by luck. So in all these games where you have to apply your mind, that is called as the game of skill. But in this particular case, there are other set of games as well, which is called as the game of chance. What is this game of chance? There is no logic here. Everything works on the basis of luck. Everything works on the basis of just that particular moment, because there is no hard work involved. There is no skill that is involved. So under the present situation, the government is saying that 28% taxes will be imposed on all these types of game of skill as well as the game of chance as well. So the game of skill basically means you apply your mind, you have a logic, you have the idea as to how it will work, and ultimately you generate some profits from it. But when it comes to game of skill, when it comes to game of chance, what is game of chance? Let's say for example, the Andar Bahar. So you have two people who are sitting next to each other. You're playing this particular game. You quote a particular number. Let's say you're quoting 7 or 5 or 2. If the card falls for you, you will get all the money. If the card doesn't fall, the other person will take the money. So it is just by luck. There is no logic involved. So irrespective of what it is, taxes will be paid at 28%, says this article. So this article goes on to say that there is a gaming boom that is happening in the country. So the government will have to rethink, because this 28% taxes may ultimately drop down the people participating in the system. So there has to be a rethink, is what is this article all about. Now let's look into the next article. This article here is speaking about Lunar 25. What is it? This happens to be designated as Lunar Global Lander and is a Russian lunar lander mission. It is targeted to the south polar region of the moon. There are two primary scientific objectives of the mission. One is to study the composition of the polar regolith. The other is to study the plasma and the dust components of the polar exosphere. We have to understand two important parameters here. One is that this particular satellite or this particular lander that we are currently looking at will reach the moon even before Chandrayaan. How is it going to reach the moon even before Chandrayaan? That is because their rockets are far superior in comparison to the Indian rockets. This is one point. Added to it, we also have to remember that this is very significant for Russia. Why is it significant for Russia? That is because as of now, they have been imposed with the large scale sanctions. The Western powers have also imposed sanctions as well. Despite all these sanctions, they are able to withstand the pressure and ultimately conduct their scientific missionaries as well as missions. So ultimately meaning that Russia is also one of those countries which is, despite putting the sanctions, able to pursue with its scientific mission. If Russia is able to achieve this success, and if it also has soft landing in the southern part, in the south pole region of moon, this will be the first country which would have done it. As of now, there are countries which have tried it, like United States of America, we have China, India has also tried it, and now since Russia is trying it, if it happens to launch on a soft landing basis, it will be the first country which will be able to do so. India and Russia are both aiming to be the first ever country to land on the moon's south pole, so we have to see who will succeed in this particular tag, in this race, and who will become the successor. Now let's look into the next article. This article here is speaking about Tampara Lake. This is very important from the preliminary examination point of view. Whereas this Tampara Lake, it is a freshwater lake situated on the right bank of the Rushikonda River. So it is the right bank of the Rushikonda River near Chhatrapur, the district headquarters of Ganjam district, where in the state of Odisha. The freshwater lake is connected to the Rushikonda River. The lake is instrumental in also flood control as well. So this can act as a flood control mechanism during the monsoon season. It is an important source of livelihood for the local population, provides water for agriculture, domestic use, as well as providing passage for local transportation of goods, and this has been designated as a protected Ramsar site since 2021, while Tampara is a freshwater lake, Chilka is a brackish water lagoon. These are some of the important facts from the preliminary examination point of view. Now let's look into the next article. This article here is speaking about Rushikonda. Rushikonda, where is it? It happens to be one of the hills that is located in the state of Andhra Pradesh. So what is currently happening? There is a massive changes that have been brought about in and around the Rushikonda hill. So in and around the Rushikonda hill, what we have been witnessing is massive construction activities that have been taking place, and as a result, this is ultimately leading to the violation of the environmental norms. So when we look at the Rushikonda Hills, where is it present? It is present in Vizag in Andhra Pradesh, and as of now, what we have is the tourism projects that have been taking place, and these tourism projects are ultimately in violation of the existing environmental norms, says the author. So in this particular case, what we have is excavations and constructions that have been taking place with violation of the Ministry of Environment and Forest norms. So the article goes on to say that there have been blatant violations with respect to Rushikonda Hills, and this Rushikonda Hills is present in the state of Andhra Pradesh. This is very important from the preliminary examination point of view. Next article is with respect to ECOWAS. ECOWAS happens to be one of the important topics when it comes to international relations. What is it? This happens to be one of the groups in Africa. The Economic Community of Western African States is what is called as ECOWAS. It is a regional political and economic union of 15 countries located in West Africa, also known as CEDAW in French. It was established in 1975 through the Lagos Treaty with the mandate of promoting economic integration. Today, ECOWAS has 15 members. This can once again become very important. One, when was it established? 1975. What is the treaty? Lagos Treaty. How many members are present? 15 members. Who are these members? Benin, Burkina Faso, Cape Verde, Cote d'Ivoire, Gambia, Ghana, Guinea, Guinea-Bissau, Liberia, Mali, Nigeria, Sierra Leone, Senegal and Togo. Around 400 million people live in this particular region. ECOWAS' larger aims is to have a single common currency, create a single large trading blocks in areas of industry, transport, telecommunication, financial issues, social and cultural matters. So basically, they also want to ensure that this entire region is governed by the principles of democracy, rule of law and good governance. What kind of role has ECOWAS played in the region so far? What are the accomplishments of this particular organization? It has attempted to quell military conflicts in the region. According to Associated Press, ECOWAS also operated a regional peacekeeping operation known as ECOMARCH, led by Nigeria in 1990s and early 2000s. Like in Liberia, where forces were first deployed in 1990, in 2017, it intervened in Gambia after long-time President Yahya Jammeh refused to step down after losing the elections, which eventually led to winner Adama coming to power. It has sent its troops to other countries, but never to Niger. These are some of the accomplishments of this group, and as part of the assignment you have to put on the comment section where is the headquarters of ECOWAS located. Please put it on the comment section. So this is it for today. Thank you for watching, and if you're liking these videos, please do like the videos, share it with your fellow aspirants and click the bell icon and subscribe to our YouTube channel. So this is it for today. Thank you.